Hello, everyone, and welcome to Science and the Soul. I am one of your hosts, Dear James, and I am joined by your fellow amazing host, the Lady Jaclyn. And we are here. Science and the Soul is about bridging practicality and spirituality. And in today's episode, signs, symbols, synchronicity, numbers, numerology, how they impact your life, how to deal with them, incorporate them, and so forth, and really open up to the wisdom of the universe, your guides, your angels, and your loved ones. Oh, Lady Jaclyn, I love your word. This is a juicy one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3. I had to count in my head. I was like, which episode are we on? We're on episode 3.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. This is definitely going to be a spectacular show, as always, because I think a lot of us really want to know, how do we interpret what we see, and if we are seeing things clearly, like, is there actually such a thing as synchronicity? What do the angel numbers mean? How do numbers correlate with meanings, with representations within our life? So I'm super excited for today's conversation.
Isn't it? And again, there's that whole thing about, well, is it just synchronicity? Is it a coincidence? Is it just nothing? And when you really truly open up to the signs, the symbols, the synchronicity, the numbers, it's magic. It is really truly magic. And I got to this place, Jaclyn, I don't know about you, but I got to this place where it was literally, you can't make it up. And it's either coincidence or it's something just really profoundly beautiful. And there's some things I'm going to share later that have to do with our loved ones and how they communicate with us. And for me, it was life-saving, and I'll explain that and why. So thank you all for joining us. As you know, we only know that you're here if you put something in the comments, as Haley just did. Hello, Dear James and the Lady Jaclyn. Brightens my day seeing your smiley faces. Oh, thank you. And ditto, 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 ditto. We absolutely love being here with all of you. And so please, as you're joining us, put into the comments that you're here, and we will continue on with the show. And if there is something about the topics, if you have a question about that or something that you want us to incorporate into the show while we're doing that, we certainly will. So Jaclyn.
I want to dive straight in because there's so much. I want to say juiciness. Like, I literally want to go, okay, cool, let's go.
I love your word. I don't know why. I know your word is just like, see, it's contagious. I'm like, oh, it's juicy, and I give credit, right? That's a Jaclyn. Right? That's a Jaclyn. It's not a Dear James.
It's such a descriptive word. So it's like, when you use it, people just know, okay, so I know what to expect, right? So when we think about synchronicity, I actually was thinking of starting with numerology, and then you started with synchronicity, and I was like, okay, let's dive in, because I have a story. So I actually have a couple of stories. But the first one is, we decided on the topic, what was it? Either the beginning of this week, or it was the end of last week, right? And I got the intuitive, like hunch. I then voice noted you, and I said, listen, are you keen? Like, let's do this topic. And you were like, yes, let's do it.
1000%.
And this week, I actually was listening to a podcast, Spiritually Hungry podcast. I don't know if you guys listen to them, but they're absolutely incredible. And they were talking about synchronicity. And I was thinking, okay, so was this a coincidence, or was this kind of like universally guided? Because I mean, I in that moment, I completely forgotten that was our theme for this week's show. And I was listening, and then only when I actually came back today to do a little bit of prep work did I realize, actually, hold on. I literally listened to a podcast where I learned something new, and I did some research, and it is actually true that the word synchronicity was actually coined by the father of psychology himself, Carl Jung, Dr. Carl Jung. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, literally the father of psychology, science, coined the term synchronicity. I was completely captivated. I was like, there is no way. How is this possible? I mean, literally, I study psychology, and every time I asked a question that was non-science, they were like, no, sorry, you're in the wrong class, not answering. And yeah, we have the father of science literally going, synchronicity.
Did you go mic drop? Punk, done.
Yeah, I literally was like, oh my God.
You had your own mic
drop. I had this moment of no ways. Like, I could not believe it. I was like, there is no ways.
Would that be a sign?
Yeah, or a coincidence.
Or a coincidence? See, this is what we're talking about, everyone. That is prime. That's exactly it. See, you can write that off as, oh, whatever. And yeah, it just randomly happened. Or it's the unseen, that part of us it's so interconnected, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the topic you guys chosen. Oh yeah, you go and watch this, and oh yeah, it's Carl Jung doing mic drop. Okay, thanks, universe.
It gets better though, James. So then, as I'm researching today, listen to this quickly. So he basically describes synchronicity as an uncanny coincidences that seem to be meaningful, right? And then he started diving into this idea of, these uncanny, these coincidental events, but that have seeming internal meanings in each person's life, right? And he started to dive deeper into, wait for it, this is like another mic drop moment. He started to dive deeper into the work of the I Ching. I mean, come on.
Right? Which I am constantly using in Wednesday's show. Right? Because it's so brilliant and thousands of years old, Jaclyn. Thousands. Exactly. Ancient Chinese divination, the I Ching, thousands of years old. Carry on. I'm continue to amaze me, Jaclyn.
So then he dives into the work of the I Ching, and then he kind of says, okay, well, the I Ching is basically says, or the works of the I Ching says that there is a direct relationship with our internal world and our external world. I mean, we already know this. And he kind of goes on this journey, and he explains different stories of patients, and he kind of, the fact that he's scientist, he's literally the father. He's not, look, we were taught he's the father of psychology, science as they come. He was the person who coined the terminology synchronicity. It blows my mind. It honestly, it blows my mind.
And what a beautiful example of exactly what this episode is about. Signs, symbols, synchronicity, science, the soul. This is what we hear this all the time, right, Jaclyn, that we're all one, we're all connected. And this is the point of this episode, is to demonstrate exactly what you just so joyously and mic drop. This is the magic, the awe, the wonder, the science of the spirituality of us all, of the universe, of the whole, and how the unseen speaks to us, communicates with us, and the only thing that's required of us, are you open to see it? Are you open to receive it? Are you open to be in the reciprocity of it? Or are you closed down, shut off, and saying, no, it's just fuddy-duddy,
And asking the question, because that's kind of what he ended on. The conclusion was that he said it's less about trying to figure out if there is such a thing as coincidence or synchronicity, if it's just a coincidence or if it's more than, or where does it come from? And the right questions that you should actually be asking is, what are the messages in those synchronized moments? What are you trying to get from it? So that's exactly what you're saying. It's reframing the idea of trying to figure out, is this true? Is this not? Is it weird? Is it kind of going, okay, it's weird and wonderful, but what is the message here? What am I trying to get? What is the universe trying to show me in this moment?
Right. Or even in that kind of scientific manner, if it consistently keeps happening, they always say, the proof is in the pudding, the truth speaks for itself. We have these sayings. Well, in that way, signs, symbols, synchronicities, they speak for themselves. It doesn't matter. You don't have to prove that it comes from somewhere. Simply as you're saying, as he stated, open yourself to receive what's in that pearl, that gift, that moment for you. If you'll move, when you move beyond the proving part and you just receive, open to receive, you get the gift, you get the pearl, you get the magic, you get the, and especially with our loved ones, which we'll move into later, you get that gift, and it's priceless.
It's interesting because I mean, okay, so I'm gonna ask the question, and I'm gonna pose it to you guys listening as well and watching. Angel numbers, right? Like those double-digit numbers that are now referred to as angel numbers,
and triple-digit numbers.
And triple-digit numbers,
Yes.
But it's literally, it's like 11, 11, 12, 12, or like the 2, 2, 2, or the 3, 3, 3, like numbers. Like, how often are you guys, or are you actually noticing those repetitive numbers come up, the pattern within numbers? What keeps happening for you? I mean, I have days where literally on the hour I get the double numbers. I get like it will start like say from 10, so it'll 10 past 10, and then it'll be like 11 minutes past 11, and then it'll be like 12 minutes past 12, and it will literally go on the hour for a specific day. And a part of me, and this is where it's interesting because we're having a human experience and we're bridging the gap, right? A part of me wants to go, okay, I know scientifically we have what is known as an RAS, a reticular activating system, which is in our brain that gets us to notice certain things where we're putting our energy. And that's kind of where that idea of where you're focusing your attention, that's kind of where the energy goes. And then life is going to show you more of that. It's a practical example of, like, if you think of red cars, and then all of a sudden you just see red cars and you're like, whoa, there's so many red cars on the road. But it's because your brain has only recognized them now. It's not because there's just all of a sudden been an influx of red cars. So my mind wants to go straight away into, hang on, is this my brain kind of cueing?
And we're back live. They love doing this to us. They really do.
They do, guys. We are back. Okay, so where I was saying, so my mind goes into, is this something that I'm focusing on because I'm putting my attention onto it? But then my soul goes, let's have that thought. That's fine, because your mind has the thought, but let's feel into, what was I thinking, or what is playing on the radio, or maybe I needed to be conscious in that moment because I was trying to protect me from something, or and I kind of go into, was there a message for me? Was there something that the universe kind of wants to show me? So again, it's a balance of both worlds. It's acknowledging and allowing yourself to think, to wonder, but then knowing the truth and embodying that process, I think, is more powerful.
It's empowering. It truly opens your world, because again, and let's just kind of tick down really quickly. We're talking about numbers, master numbers, multiples, this type of thing, doubles. So numbers is one way that the unseen communicates with us. Music, songs, symbols. Do we see something that's related to something that is, or we've just thought something and then we see it? It's these types of ways. These are all different ways that the unseen, and the unseen incorporates the whole of the whole. The unseen, it also, we just lost the Lady Jaclyn for a moment, so I'm gonna continue on, and then we'll bring her back in as the signal reconnects. So here she is. There we go, and we will bring her. There she is. She's back in and live with us. So these are different ways, modalities, where the unseen, and the unseen again incorporates the whole of the whole. Is it soul specific? Is it guides, angels, the universe? Is it your loved ones? This type of thing. All of these embody, and they empower us when we suspend, let's say we suspend the science of it for a moment, the provability of it. Because remember, science doesn't prove everything, or it's to disprove something. There are many things within our universe, our known human experience, that science has yet to prove or disprove. And so when you just suspend that and say, okay, make peace with that. Okay, let me open myself and allow myself to see to receive. Well, then these numbers, and I don't know about you, Jaclyn, but as you were just speaking about these multiples, and I get, like you said, the 10-10, the 11-11, the 12-12, and I smile. When I see 11-11, I make a wish. I just stop whatever I'm doing. If I'm mid-sentence with somebody, I will stop. If I see it, I say, excuse me, hang on. And I just do a little thing of gratitude, like a wish, a gratitude thing with the universe. That brings me such joy. I smile. When I see triples, I will literally, oh, hello, Ascended Masters. Oh, hello, angels. Hello, Source. Oh, yeah, mind my thoughts. 111, mind my thoughts, new beginnings. When you incorporate that in your day-to-day existence, I don't know about you, Jaclyn, but I literally am like, hello, how are you? It just, it's such a beauty because it reminds me we never walk alone, ever. Never.
It's such a beautiful practice to also be in the present moment. So what you're actually doing is at any given time, you're coming back to yourself, your truth, and you're connecting with source, and you're connecting with that frequency and that energy of gratitude. And it's so beautiful. I mean, there's an example that happens with me as well is when I see the signs, when I see the symbols, when I see the things that I resonate with, that I know the universe is speaking to me, I have that moment as well when I'm just smiling, and it's like your whole tank just fills up with joy because you know that you're not alone, you know that you're part of something bigger. And then also when I see certain numbers and I recognize in that moment that I asked the universe for guidance maybe an hour before or a week before, and it's like in that moment I go, oh, wait, that's maybe the guidance. Like, let me quickly go research what 777 is. And then
absolutely,
like I Google
yes.
and I'm like, no ways. Like, this is literally the answer. And immediately in that moment, I give gratitude as well. I don't allow my brain to even think further. I just know and I accept and I go and I thank you. Like, that was my message. That's exactly what I needed to hear. So again, it's being open to it, right? It's allowing yourself to notice in the moment because you also set an intention.
Absolutely. And that is absolutely the piece. That is the key for everyone listening. Signs, symbols, synchronicity, numbers. The key is, as Jaclyn just said, being open. When you are open to see, to receive, to acknowledge, to give thanks and gratitude, to immediately stop and go, as Jaclyn said, hey, I just asked, oh my gosh, 777. Oh my gosh, there it is. And you can't make it up. And that's where, and when you stop and you do it and you follow through with it, and because you're open to the possibility, to the unseen, to receiving it, they go, oh, here you are. Thanks. Okay, carry on. And it's, you know, and Jaclyn, we have to bring this up because your mom's listening as well, joining us. And I loved, you know, because we asked you, what is it that she says about your angels? And you said, she said, they're bored. Give them something to do. Well, how brilliant, right? Because it's exactly that. They are there waiting because they're not allowed. Divine law says they're there. They're ever present, but free will, human experience, free will. And you're a facilitator. Yes, correct? I got that right? And they have to be invited. And you're always talking about that. You know, this, hold on, I have to be invited. And how frustrated, you're an Aries. Come on, what? I have to wait to be invited? And can you imagine the angels, the guides, everyone on the other side, your loved ones, and they're like,
hello.
Yeah. It's like, hello, they're either bored, frustrated, miffed, you know, because they're sitting there going, but if you'll just, well, yeah, yay, she did it, or he did it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's absolutely so true. You know what is interesting though as well is we get so, I think, wrapped up again in that human experience of almost that victim mode where we forget that all we need to do is actually ask for help and then trust that we will receive it when we are ready and open enough to notice it. Because it's not like it's not there. It's always there. I mean, I have countless stories that actually brings me to the next thing. So would you maybe let's go through different types of signs and symbols that we've experienced, and then you guys that are listening, if you want to drop it into the comment section as well. But it's not just numbers. I mean, it's
No.
literally songs. I mean, I know Laurie is talking about a song that she keeps waking up to every morning, and Haley's resonating with that as well. So I know that as well when I'm driving and I'm thinking something, then all of a sudden I just hear the song, or the song has been playing for like a minute, and I'll hear the certain lyric in a song and it just hits home, and I'm like, okay, like, thank you, that was my message. So it's songs, it's numbers. What else has come up for you?
Oh, absolutely. And just to elaborate on songs, with my clients, when I'm intuiting and I'm listening and I sit down ahead of time, and all of a sudden a song will come in, and it comes in, and I love music. So and music is emotion, and it goes along with that saying, Jaclyn, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A song can immediately, the emotion of the song or the song itself, the lyrics, whatever it might be, can instantly say 1,000 words. And so there, the universe, the unseen, spirit, source, and symphony are saying, there's the song. Okay, boom, that hits that note, and that will speak for itself. You can elaborate, but it speaks for itself. Or you'll be in the moment and the song keeps coming on. And finally, you'll know somebody on the radio and you'll be like, okay, there must be something happening because I was in the grocery store and that song was playing. I get in the car and I turn on the radio and that same song is playing. I got home, or my friend. Now, either that's just profoundly coincidental, or the unseen is really trying to get your attention. It's specific, it's purposeful, it's intended. So that in and of itself, there's songs. I want to, if I may, move into also with our loved ones, because again, so many people, it's painful when we lose our loved ones. And I want to tie these two together so when my father passed, it was obviously very traumatic. It was a very close family. And one of the things that really saved me was my belief system, my openness to receive, and knowing that we go on, we continue. And so there were two things, but it relates with my mom. And we were driving back up from Los Angeles to Mount Shasta, California. And we're on 395. It's an interior highway, so it's not like a major interstate road. It's more 2 lanes each way, but very mountainous and rural, and each city is maybe 70 miles apart or something. And it's a 10 hour drive. And we're driving along, there's no one. And we're having this discussion. And she says, I just want to see him the way you do. I want the signs, these things, the way they communicate. And I said, okay, well, Mama, if that's the case, then you've got to be open to the way they're able to communicate with us. Because as we're doing right now, Jaclyn, they can't do this anymore. We can't have this physical vocal interaction, right? It's in new ways. And so, and literally as I said that to her, and she's crying, it's emotional for us, and she's crying and saying, and I said, you've got to be open. Not 2 seconds later, out of nowhere, this truck, this big, honking truck, passes us. And in the middle, my father was military. He was in the Marine Corps, the United States Marine Corps. And the truck goes by. I've just said this. We've just had this exchange. And 2 seconds later, this truck goes by. And in the middle back window is this honking huge Marine Corps decal, like emblem, sticker. And I'm like, and we both just went, because you can't explain. I mean, it's not like you're on I-5 and there's hundreds of cars going by. The timing, the synchronicity, the coincidence of that moment. And I looked at her and I go, see? And then of course she burst into tears. And I go, see? Now you can either say that's coincidence, or it's your loved one saying, hello, I see you.
Absolutely. You touched on a beautiful point. And I think this kind of answers the question to anybody that's wondering or pondering how signs and symbols will show up for them. And you said you love music. Yes. And when you said that, I was like, oh, yes, I love music too. Okay, so the common denominator is they will speak to you your loved ones, universe, source, angels will communicate with you in a way that you're able to receive it. So think of how you receive things. Like, you receive things so clearly, so easily, because you love them, because you're passionate about them. And that's probably why you're receiving information in music. Or like, I love numbers, I love understanding, I love like the practicality, I love the music. I receive it in music, I receive it in numbers. I also receive it in nature, because I'm like a nature baby. So for me, it was like, ooh, I want to tie it to the nature element. So I receive it through nature. So look at your own life at the moment and kind of reconnect with, how do you think the universe, angels, your past loved ones, your guides want to speak to you or can speak to you? Like, in what way do you think that they will be able to speak to you? And then start being open enough to actually notice it, to acknowledge it. Right? Does that make sense?
That's a beautiful point, and it's a poignant point, Jaclyn. I mean, it's truly spot on. It's the, head on the nail, because it is that. How is it music? Is it numbers? Is it nature? Is it a feeling, a smell, a sense? Any and all. What is your way of receiving, of communicating? Because that's exactly how they're going to communicate with us, and we just have to be open to it. And the minute you are, and Haley said, that sign must have been truly breathtaking, James, and it was. And the number of times, I mean, it's this beautiful thing, Jaclyn, because we might be, my family, and we'll be doing something, we'll think of our father, or, we're doing something, and all of a sudden, the next car you see, boom, Marine Corps decal. It might be this big, but you'll see it.
Yeah.
I see the numbers. I point out to my mom all the time, my father's birthday, the month and the day, or the month and the year. I consistently, and I love it. I see it all the time. And I go, hi, Papa. Hello, Papa. Hey, Papa. Or I'm thinking something, and it's like where you would want that, or, you're thinking of him, or you're thinking of something that his input. Boom, there's the number, the time, and you just look up and it's on the clock. And you go, hello.
Absolutely.
The nourishment, the comfort that gives.
So the next, like yesterday in the show, we actually spoke about, I briefly mentioned that I want to tell a story.
Yes.
And the story is going to help you to put the intention out on specifically asking the universe to show you a specific sign or symbol. So, I'm also very practical, and I kind of, Aries in me probably wants to be like, okay, universe, I'll tell you how to communicate with me. Like, that's probably a bit of that element. But it was so interesting because a couple of actually, I think it was probably years now, I was listening to, I think it was either podcast or it was a video clip of her podcast on Instagram, Gabby Bernstein. And she spoke about the idea of setting the intention, speaking to the universe and saying, listen, universe, I really want to, let's kind of be specific on how I can receive the information. So can we, setting the intention of how you actually want to receive wisdom or guidance from your guides, from the universe, from source, from loved ones, right? And she was basically explaining the whole experience that she had, and she said you can set the intention of a specific thing, and you journal it down, you communicate with source, and you kind of say, okay, so she was at a crossroads, for example, in her life. She had to write a book or something, and she had to change chapters, and she didn't know what to do next. And she was kind of like, okay, show me the sign of a whatever it was, and that's how I'll know that I need to go right versus left, for example. Okay.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, that's great, let me try it. So I set the intention. I said, okay, universe, if I'm on the right track, like that was the first question, then please show me the symbol or the sign or whatever of, like, however you want to represent it, but show me a butterfly. And I was like, show me the butterfly, right? And I let it go. So part of the whole idea is we want to control the how, and then we kind of look for it, and then it kind of defeats the object, because then we get a little bit despondent because the universe actually doesn't show up for us, but it's because we're trying to control the situation. So I literally let it go, and I said, this is fun activity. I had no expectations. I just said, when I feel like I'm not on the right path and you want to show me that I'm on the right path, show me a butterfly. can I just begin to explain to you that I actually partially forgot a little bit about the fact that I had set the intention until I saw butterflies. I would see butterflies literally everywhere at that specific moment when I needed the reminder, you're on the right path. There was an instance that happened, I think it was like 2 days ago, when I was driving the back end of an area. I was heading off to my friend, and I mean, there's no ways. It's not like there's trees everywhere. It's literally dirt road. I mean, there is okay, we know that there's no coincidence. Like, you cannot make this up, right? And I'm driving, and I'm having this thought, and I'm pondering, like, oh, where am I going? Like, what's happening? Life questions. My brain kind of wants to go there. And the next moment, there's a taxi, because in South Africa we have those big white taxi cabs, or cabs, but taxis. And he's driving in front of me, and literally the back of we stopped at the robot, and as we're pulling off, at the back of his bonnet, he's by his boot area, a little butterfly, like a yellowy white butterfly, literally flies across the back of the car, does a little zigzag and disappears. That I actually I stopped in my tracks, and I was like, did I literally see a butterfly? And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And for me, it was so ingrained. I'd already set the intention. This wasn't the first experience that had happened, but it was so ingrained within me to go, oh, butterfly. I smiled, I accepted, I appreciated, and I moved on. And that feeling that you explained, that elation, that joy, that increased state, of knowing that you're being guided, that you're not alone, that everything actually works out for you. That was in that moment. It was like, there is no ways that a butterfly would be there, first of all, and then also to fly directly in front of me, behind the car, so that I could actually see it. And that is exactly it. It's like the universe. And this gets to the next point, is the more you actually are open enough to receive it, the more the universe starts talking to you, the more they actually communicate with you. It actually becomes a frequent, like, stimulating conversation. It's not just one-off kind of sign. It's like, okay, like, you're there, you're talking to me.
It's beautiful. This is the beauty. I always say it's the magic, the awe, the wonder of the unseen, of the universe. And I always, always, always say, I hope I never lose the gratitude of it, the awe of it, the wonder of it. And really, it's about the childlikeness of it. Because when we open ourselves to that, it does, as you just said, it guides you. Am I on the right path? And let's tie this in, Jaclyn, for a minute, because that example, your personal story about that, it's about how you build trust with yourself. It's how you surrender to your soul source connection. It's how you practice, you exercise your soul, your intuition. Because you can literally say, they did this to me early on as I became DearJames, using air quotes there. I became DearJames, but I'm sitting there and I would listen, and they would say, cross the street. And I would cross the street. I'm out walking, I'm exercising, physical exercising. And then they say, okay, now cross back. And I did this 3, 4, 5, and about the 8th time, I'm like, really? I'm like getting miffed, right? I'm like, really? I'm like, I've crossed the street like 8 times. What, And they said, it's practice. We're getting you to listen, to hear us, to go as guided. And so the human part of us, or the ego, the mind, the personality part of us, might get frustrated with how this is operating. But what it truly did in that moment, in that present moment, it taught me to listen, to trust, to surrender, to open myself, and thereby these signs and the symbols and interacting in reciprocity with all of those who are on the other side, guiding us, working with us, our higher self, our true north, they're all there. We can ignore them. Your angels are bored. I love that. Your angels are bored. I love your mom. She's, that we gotta coin that. I'm sorry. I know that's personal between, but that's a good one for everybody. That's a question you want to ask yourself. Are your angels bored? Because if they are, you might want to interact with them. You might want to open yourself. It's so brilliant. Thank you
It's a reminder, and she does it literally when I'm having these moments where I'm like, I need help, and she's like, okay, but did you ask for help? And I'm like, I'm asking now, and she's like, yeah, but to who? Like, and then she'll be like, your angels are bored, like they're literally waiting for you to ask for help, like, and to speak to them and to trust them and to hold space for them. And that kind of also brings to the next question, because now people might say, okay, so I've set the intention, I've asked the universe, show me my specific symbol. What happens if I don't ever see the symbol or the sign that I'm looking for, right? And there is, I want to say, Juice, there is like evident, there is beauty in not receiving the sign or symbol as well. There's a message and understanding in not receiving it the way that you're thinking you're going to receive it. Because when I said butterfly, I mean that 2 days ago it was physically a butterfly. I've seen butterflies in my coffee, like the shape, you know, they do a heart, then they do the butterfly shape in my coffee. I've had like a butterfly little like a wood cutout thing that actually sits on my desk, and I didn't notice it, that I have it there literally next to my frame, until one moment I needed to hear something and I glanced over and I was like, oh wait, when did I put that there? That's a butterfly. And I was like, oh my good gracious, that's a butterfly. So the idea is, even if you don't receive the sign or the symbol the way that you're expecting, the expectation needs to be released. So it's kind of accepting and trusting, and that's what you're talking about, building that relationship of trust with the universe, with yourself, in knowing that you're open enough to receive, and that the universe and the angels are actually listening to you, and that they actually want to guide you and give you the answers. So even if you feel like, oh, okay, hold on, I'm not receiving any guidance, it's because you're trying to control. Again, that energy, that doesn't make you open. That actually closes you off to focus only on, I'm not receiving. So what is your energy putting out? Not receiving, versus I'm calm and I'm at peace and I'm trusting that the universe will send me that sign and symbol when I'm ready, right?
Absolutely. And it's important to remember, sometimes, quote unquote, a non-answer is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Is the answer. And that too, you'll have the awareness of that non-answer is the answer. And so again, be open to that. Because, and all of this is about, we exercise our brains, we exercise our bodies with nutrition and physical exercise and everything. And I often say the one thing we fail to exercise is our soul. Mm-hmm. And this is where this comes in. Exercise your soul source connection. Exercise it, enhance it, build upon it, practice with it, be open to it. Because these signs, and Jaclyn, let's, we started off with numbers, but numerology, divinations, numerology. The one thing that does not lie in the universe, you cannot corrupt it, is numbers. They are absolute. And when like the golden ratio, pi, all of these things are based on numbers. Mm-hmm. The alphabet correlates with numbers. We have gematria. We have all of these different things. So you can see that the science, the physics of the universe is based on mathematics, numbers. They don't lie. They cannot be corrupted. I mean, literally, the simple saying, 1 + 1 is not 3. It's always going to be 2. You can't, there is no other interpretation, alternate facts or truths, can't be. And so it's to remember that when it's the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's one of the prime ways, numbers is one of the prime ways that they will communicate with you. So when you see it, and I'd be like, oh, 222, oh look, 777, addresses, 1133, and they're like, ugh, and they'd roll, and they'd go, oh look, 3786, and I'm like, really, come on. And then all of a sudden, fast forward a few years, Jaclyn, all of a sudden I get this call. My friend is living abroad, and it's like, oh my God, I keep seeing these repeating numbers. Do you think it's a sign? And I went, You think? Because there's going to, and I bring this up because there's going to be naysayers, there's going to be people, and this was genuine, a good friend, dear best friend. But the point is, until they have their own experience, it's not going to be like yours. Once it starts happening for them, with them, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then they're excited. They call up now and they're like, oh my God, I saw these numbers and these numbers. And it becomes communal in that way.
I was
It's
going to say,
beautiful.
it becomes a language. Like, I literally
It
have a
does.
language, a way of communicating with source. Like, I have, and they know it now, because it's like, okay, well, they know it, I know it, because they know it obviously before I do. But it's literally like, okay, so she's receptive in this way. Let's communicate with her more in that way. So literally, when I see numbers, I go straight to YouTube. There's a lady that I follow, and she created a series where she says, universes universal messages, and then she equates every number to that universal message for that specific week. And I'll literally, you will see the number. I think it was a week ago, my car, literally the time, I think it was the kilometers, the time, the mileage, something like that, was 1111727272. I mean, how is, like, you can't make this up. Like, how is the kilometers plus the mini kilometers plus my time literally giving me all the same numbers? And I immediately went to her YouTube description, and I went to the 72 video, I went to the 11 video, and I listened to it, and I was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. That was exactly the message that I needed to hear. And so they know now, okay, so this is how I'm responding. So that's the language. We've come up with this language together. I've now deciphered and understand and see what works. And then it literally becomes a way for you to really tune in, to tap into. And it's this resonance. So I again will say, I'm listening to my intuition because it feels good. I know that it's like a flow, an ease and a flow of just exactly the way when you're communicating with someone it's effortless. That's exactly it. The language becomes effortless, but it takes practice.
Absolutely. And it's innate. That just reminded me of something as well about harmonic resonance. And so with harmonic resonance, it's like clocks in a clock shop. They will all eventually sync up to the same time, the same, cuckoo, the same thing. This happens, of course, with women as well. The female reproductive cycle and everything. When they join together, they sync up. And so there's so many that this is the alignment. Harmonic resonance is about being in alignment with the universe, with your soul source connection. And this is how it brings forward this beauty about it's the communication that is innate to us, and yet we don't exercise it, practice it. And when you do, like you can see on Jaclyn and I's faces, big, huge smiles. This was such a juicy topic as Jaclyn, she suggested it. And I was like, immediately, I was like, oh yes, all in. Let's go with signs, symbols, synchronicities.
So let's dive into numerology, because you briefly mentioned now numerology, and it's the study of numbers. So each the letter of alphabet has a number that's linked to it. And it was also discovered by Pythagoras, which is a mathematician, so it definitely has roots in mathematics, and the numbers don't lie, like James has said. So when we look at numerology, we can see, like, let's talk about the vibration for 2022. And the 2022 is a 6th year. And it's so interesting because that 6th year is exactly what's happening in the collective. And so we're talking broad topic, but you can break it down. You can work out your own personal year, right? So if you're interested in working out your own personal year quickly, you would literally take your date of birth, your date of birth, which is your day of birth, your month of birth, and then take the year 2022 and add up the numbers, right? There's obviously a specific way of adding up the numbers. So if you get double numbers like 11 or 22, you don't take them as 4, like 2 plus 2 is 4. You actually take them as 22. But you can Google it, and you can actually work out your own personal year. So like, I'm in a personal year line. I want to say line because human design, but I'm in a personal year 9. But if we look at the energy of the 6, it's known as the pregnant belly, right? And it's known as the nurturing energy. It's connecting back to health and wellness. It's taking care of everybody. It's relationships. It's family. It's nurturing. It's humanity. It's all that mother feminine. I mean, we literally started episode 1 talking about the feminine energy, stepping into the femininity, and we're in the 6th year. How incredible.
And it's beautiful because, again, your personal years and numbers, and for those listening, when we do the Wednesday show, I'm always looking at the date. What's the date of the Wednesday show? And what does that speak to in terms of the collective? And you can see how the numbers, the energy, this happens with clients. The day, the time is always important. And yes, I'm sorry. I wanted to bring this up, Jaclyn. This is really important in terms of signs. You're born, and your parents, quote unquote, give you a name. They name you. However, your soul, their soul, it's all chosen. It's all there. It's all chosen. In numerology is based on your name. Addresses, based on the address, and so forth. It all carries energy. It carries a resonance. The etymology, the meaning of your name. So and 9 times out of 10 with my clients, they don't know what their name means. They have no idea of the origin of their name. And this is what your soul brought in. It is such a powerful part of you. And so it's not coincidence. It's not something that your parents just randomly chose and, Aunt Agnes was, named whatever. And so that's your name, or your grandmother or grandpa or something. No, it's so purposeful. And then when you see the etymology of it, it opens you up. It expands you to say, wow, I came in with this name. How does that energy, how does the etymology, the meaning of it, impact or associate, synchronize with the experiences that you're having, or the shadow of it, meaning you came in with this name that means power, and yet you're feeling, lowly or defeated or
powerless.
Powerless. And all of a sudden you're like, your soul came in to this lifetime. So are you experiencing the powerlessness so as to be empowered? Cloak of opposites. Etymology, numerology, all, massive signs. And most never bother to look at what their name means.
And also never bother to know and understand that if you have, for example, a nickname, so if the person was born with a name, but they only then refer or resonate with a nickname, that gives them an additional energy. When you get married, you take on another surname that gives you additional energy. I kind of say, when I studied numerology, it was like you were born with a toolkit, right? A shed behind you with a whole lot of tools, and then whatever you're adding to it, that kind of gets stored into in the shed. But in that shed, or in the experience, let's put it this way, you have the tools in the shed to use, but you're also going to go through challenges and transformation and pinnacles, as they call it as well in numerology. So understanding when you get married and you're taking on the vibration of your partner's surname, what are you actually taking on? Like, you're taking on the gifts, the tools, but you're also taking on the challenges that come hand in hand with that. So it's like it's so juicy. It's like there is no other word to explain it. But I have a friend that she's got a full name, and then they give her she resonates with a nickname, right? And then I worked out the numerology, and I was like, do you know what you're actually doing? You're making your life so much harder because you're not embodying what you were given. You're embodying this energy. Now, whether it be that's your soul contract and you got to learn through that, or you've got to go, okay, I can actually change my name, right? I think the Victorian age had it right, because they named their kids 12 names because they just knew, we're going to give as many
pick one
tools. We're going to give them so many second names and third names because we just want to equip them for life. But with that obviously came the path that they've got to work on as well. So your name, you can work out your soul, your personality, and your expression just by utilizing your name. And what does that look like? It's huge. it's, I mean, I can't even believe that
And
people don't even research it.
absolutely. And this is, well, because again, these are in a certain way, the word occult. Occult means wisdom, knowledge. So, but it's also like this thing that is hidden or to be revealed. And so here's this piece of, when we get into these types of divinations, astrology, numerology, I Ching, human design, soul purpose, all these tarot, all of these tools, etymology of names, it's all energy. And so we forget, we've just, we've been so disconnected in a way. And this is about returning, listening. You talked about the signs in nature, how Aboriginal native peoples were so in sync with Mother Earth and the animal kingdom and the environment and so forth, the mineral kingdom. They knew it all because they were so in resonance with it, in harmony with it. And this is a piece where, when you're looking at where you're going to live, you're going to buy a home or rent a place, or you're going to work,
Oh, yeah. Mm.
homes, homes, businesses, dwellings
Mm-hmm.
have energy. They're given an address. They have a color. Color is another. All of these are signs. All of these are ways that you are able to, if you're open to and you desire to, add up the numerology of an address, feel the energy of a location, of a building, of its architecture. It will speak to you, and you'll know, no, thank you. That one's not for me. This is not in resonance. This is disharmonic.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of times people don't do that, they don't bother. And then they go, I don't know why this place has such a horrible vibe. And yet you chose to live there.
Mm-hmm. I want to give a quick tip. So in business, when you are so obviously everything has, that meaning. So when you're trying to price, or when you're looking at pricing your service, always try and price it that it equates to 8 or 17/8. So for example, if you're, pricing a one-to-one session, and you want to price it at a price point, doing like 260, like 6 plus 2 is 8, or 170, 1 plus 7 is 8, right? So always try and equate it to 8, because 8 is the money number, 8 is the money vibration, 17/8 is the gigolo. It is incredible how just by doing that, a business name, you just think kind of, this sounds great, I'm going to just pick this as my business name. And I've done so many I've worked out so many business names that I'm just like, where people come to me and then I give them options, and I say, okay, so you got 3 business names that you want me to work out. I've worked out this is the energy. And it's not to say that there's a negative and a positive, because remember, this is what James is talking about, the polarity. You're always going to have challenges. Challenges not in a negative, because challenges are there for your transformation, for your growth, but it's almost like experiences, let's put it that way. So it's experiences. You're going to have tools, and then you're going to have gifts, and you're going to have experiences, right? So, but when you're looking at, or when you've got this awareness now and you have this information, wouldn't it be so much easier for you if you just actually aligned it with a frequency that made sense? Like everything that you're offering, when you're pricing it, make sure that it actually represents the energy of money, the energy of business, the energy of power, the energy of abundance. Why would you not do that?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and Jaclyn, people don't do it because numerous things, that they're either completely unaware of it, they're poo-poo it because, again, it's something woo-woo, or it's not scientific, it's not proven, or because it comes in a way that's the unseen, or it's occult divination. They say no, they dismiss it. And that's fine. If that is where you are, no harm, no foul. The point, though, is it's unmistakable when you look at things, what's the numbers, what's the energy, what is this overlay, and you can see. I watch architecture, my former life, design, development, interiors, things of this nature. It's artistic, these things. And I watch and I look at buildings and where they place them, or developments, and you look and you can see something that's just absolutely harmonic. Its energy just radiates, and you walk up to it and you're just smiling. And then you can see something where they've just plopped something down and it's incongruent with the land, with where it's setting, and you can feel it, it's palpable, it's like it's in challenge. And then somebody moves in, and 5 years later they're getting a divorce, or they're constantly fighting and bickering or something, and you're like, yes, because you're in a space that is in conflict. It is disharmonic, and you're living there. And so, and granted, everything happens for a reason, and it's purposeful, so it may be it's going to happen for you, because that's the state of where you are. However, you have a choice before you ever move there to open your eyes to see and say, you know what, that's disharmonic, that's not in resonance with me, I don't need that lesson, I'm good. And so, and I just want to tag on with some of the comments. This is such a I could go on with this. We might have to do a part 2 of signs, synchronicities, and symbols and so forth. But both Haley and Lori are talking about, which we have talked about, Jaclyn, having readings with the soul purpose system, the soul essence system, and it's based on your name. And so this is where, and just as you were talking about with numerology, in the soul purpose system, the soul essence system, you have your birth name, and then as you marry, you take on a nickname, something of that nature. It's called an overlay, and you have an overlay name. And so you can see how the energy of this affects you. And like the human design system, like the unseen spirit source and symphony, and like the soul essence system with Debbie, the accuracy is unmistakable. They are so accurate. And these are tools. These are tools for all of us to see ourselves more, so as to ascend, so as to evolve, so as to have a very beautiful soul source, connected human experience, soul experience, divine experience.
Literally, absolutely. I take it as far as to work out my car number plate. I work out, if I'm going to partner with someone, I work out their surname, because I want to know what's in their lineage. Like, I look at my cell phone number. I refuse to stay in certain apartments because of the number. And then the state agent, when I was looking for my apartment like 5 years ago, she would show me a few places, and I wouldn't even look at some of them because I was like, what's the number? And then she was like, but does it matter? And I'm like, it totally matters. Are you joking? Like,
absolutely
she
matters.
was like, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, no, it does matter. This is why. And she was open to it. And I was actually teaching it a little bit about, this idea that the number of your house represents the energy frequency. And it makes so much sense. Like what you're saying, if you're living in a 19 over 10 is abuse of power. So it's kind of like there's probably potentially a lesson that you've got to learn about that power, power struggle. Are you being the doormat? Are you the one that's overpowering within the relationship, and then kind of just moving, and the vibration changes within the relationship. So, I mean, the car I had about 2 years ago, I kept having problems with this car, and I was like, what is going on? I would ding the car, or someone would scratch it, or it would, like, there was always just some problems with the car. And I worked out the number plate, and I just understood it. And I was like, and as soon as I understood it, when something happened, I was like, okay, this is what it's here to teach me. Because I know in our country, like, number plates, you can't choose unless you customize your number plates as well. Like, if you customize your number plate, check in with the numerology, but you're given that number. And like, just, you're given your cell phone number. So I work it out, and I have an understanding so that there's less friction. So now I can actually play with it. And then I speak to my car, or I understand my cell phone number, like my cell phone, a whole lot more, because there's less resistance, which then fills me up. I mean, it's so good.
And I do that. I mean, it's funny because I do the same thing, whether it's license plate or address, or even down to a hotel room. I mean, I will, and I'm very kind and humble about it, but I might, go into a hotel room, and, people will say a room is a room is a room. And I'm like, no, they're not.
Nope.
And you can walk into a room, and it might be that it's the wrong, like the energy is wrong. The bed might be on the wrong wall, or because, again, that's speaking to a sense of feng shui and how are things organized in the room. What's the flow? Is the energy flowing? Is it blocked? Is it aggressive or, harmful in some way? And so, or is it just abundant and flowing and nurturing? And I will literally, I sometimes I'll go down and I say, listen, I don't mean to be a problem child. Hotel's lovely. Do you have something that might have it on the flip side, like the reverse of something? Because again, all of a sudden you walk in and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good now. It's not about quote unquote a better room, like an upgrade type thing. It's not that. It's about literally the energy and the harmonic of that particular room. And this affects you, and it will affect your stay. It will affect, and so I'm always speaking to that in terms of even Reiki, being mindful. And this is true for everyone. Be mindful of whom you interact with and invite in, because everything is energy. And that person's energy may be incongruent with yours, and thereby, no harm, no foul, just, it's like art. Resonate to something that resonates with you, as opposed to, because Reiki is energy work. I mean, all of this is. And so, but it's very specific, and I'm very mindful of that, because again, that can alter your energy field, your aura and everything, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what happened. Why?
Yeah,
why do I feel all twisted up, right? I mean,
absolutely. So in my way, I would say follow your authority. So human design would teach you how to make decisions. Follow your authority. Mine's clinic. So intuitively, I know that sometimes I'll just walk into a space and I'm just like, nope, this is not where I'm supposed to be, and I'll literally make a U-turn and leave, because I know if I chance it, I can have the experience and I'm gonna be, I'm gonna kind of regret it later because I've learned. Or I can truly trust myself and know that I'm being intuitively guided. So there's something that I'm not supposed to be interacting with here right now. And this is what we spoke about last night. It's this stepping into the new, which is speaking the energy language. Everything we're talking about is energy. It's the meaning of the energy vibration behind a number, behind your cell phone number, behind the place that you stay. It's not just a building with 4 walls. It's a vibration, it's an energy, because everything is actually energy. On a scientific, it's all atoms. It's all atoms that are bunched up together to create this physical form that we can see, taste, touch, and smell. So the idea is we're stepping into the newness of this awareness of knowing that it's not just 4 walls, that there could actually be something that's bigger. Like if you're, I was raised in a house when we moved to Cape Town for the first time. I was raised in a house that was 19/10, and there was constant bumping heads. There was constant bickering. There was constant abuse of power. There was constant, luckily there was no negative, where it could escalate to, but there was constant friction. And as soon as we shifted, as soon as we moved, that friction completely disappeared. Now, coincidence or synchronicity? That's kind of the topic. Like, whatever you believe in, for me, it made so much sense because I studied it. That I cannot imagine my life without this knowing now that you can actually live and you can communicate and you can be in a way that's far beyond just the 3D reality.
Absolutely. And as we started Science in the Soul, the first episode, leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond. And this beauty of the fact that what we're really talking about, all of this, the signs, the symbols, the synchronicities, how you listen to the unseen and interact with it and invite it. This is about returning in a sense, but we're moving into the Aquarian, matriarchal, divine mother. You were talking about 6, the nourishment, the birthing of your intuition, leading with your soul source connection, the unseen. And that's why remembering that signs, symbols, synchronicity, numerology, your names, etymology, color, all of these types of ways that we would say that's associated with intuition, mother, the intuitive, the divine feminine. The masculine, of course, has been patriarchal, Piscean, masculine, has been about the senses, the physical, the tangible, the science of things, the literal, the Mars, the action of it, and so forth. And yes, we need both. It's yin yang, harmony, balance. It's about the two. However, what we are, what we are moving to, the new is all about, is that return to listening and going as guided, allowing the personality, the masculine, the creative force to recede, in a sense, in a way, to recede, so as for the receptive force to rise, to come up. And these are all ways, this show is all that we've discussed today is about ways that you're able to do that. And I just mindful of the time, I want to I want to leave with one last thing. Do not become overwhelmed by how you do this, when it happens or doesn't happen. Put aside being overwhelmed or worried or it's too much, I can't. Put that elf on a shelf, put it away. Just be open, listen to this, go back and visit how all these different types of ways. There were some comments about, I can't figure out how what's the song mean? It keeps playing. It's okay. You're aware that the song is repetitive and it keeps being presented to you. Eventually, and release that. Okay, it's aware. It's in my consciousness. And then because you're open to it, and as Jaclyn has articulated, you've released it. You're not hanging on to it. You've released it. All of a sudden, when you least expect it, or, it's like the unseen, the universe is going to go ding, and you're going to go, oh, that's why that song kept playing. They're simply speaking with you in the moment for you to become aware into your consciousness, that song. And then, okay, I say, my thing is, I put it in the vault. It's in the vault. It's within me. It's in the vault. And when it's time, I have the trust and the faith, the full faith and trust that I'm going to get dinged. I'm going to get that bing. And I'll be like, oh, that's why. There you are. So I just want to leave you with, don't become overwhelmed. You don't have, as we've said before, Jaclyn said it, you don't have to figure out the how. The how is the unseen, God, spirit, source, symphony, how your loved ones, all of that. The how is taken care of. Just be open and receptive, release, and allow, and full faith and trust that it's going to come to you in due course and time, in divine time. And Jaclyn, I'll toss it to you for your final thoughts and comments.
Have fun with it.
Yes.
Have fun with it. Like, literally look at it as, or with childlike curiosity of what is possible. And that takes the pressure off. And when you're trying to control it, when you're trying to make it happen, when you're focusing on the how, a kid doesn't, look at a child. A child doesn't ever worry about the how. They are so curious with the potential of it or the thing or the opportunity that they're lapping up the entire experience. And that's the quickest way, that's been my experience, that's the quickest way that you're going to be able to develop and build this language that we're talking about, this way of communicating with the unseen in a way that literally becomes tangible. Is the more that you lean into joy and the curiosity, that's the surrender, that's the release, that's the openness that we're referring to, the quicker the process is going to become for you. This was absolutely incredible. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us. I cannot wait to see what our next theme is going to be for next week. It's like, this is a perfect example of what we do. So every week when we finish an episode, we kind of go, okay, so what's the theme for the next episode? And then we just leave each other and go, one of us will send a voice note with some sort of a download. We'll go back and forth. It'll be like, yes, does it resonate? No, okay, cool. And it literally comes when we least expect it. We just know that it's going to come. And it comes for me, the idea came, I was blow drying my hair, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, send James a voice note, and then this is it, this is the thing, let's just send him a voice note. And that's exactly it. It's like we're releasing the expectation and we're having fun with the idea of what the potential conversation could be next week. And that's when the download comes, that's when the information comes.
And it's the beauty of the fact that we really truly don't, we just say, okay, well, next week, right this minute, we'll conclude the show. We might have a quick chat after, and then we go, okay, we'll know. And whenever that happens is when we do it. We don't sit and, we don't, and when either it's been me or you, we're like, what about, is this it? And it's like, oh, ding. Oh, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
It's literally a one thing, because we know it's not about, it's not Jaclyn and James. It's not us. It's what's the guidance? What is the next show? And we'll know to do it. We'll know. And it's inspired, and it's synchronistic, and it's all the things we've talked about today. And it's a beautiful way to lead your life. It is a beautiful, beautiful way. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for joining us. We love you. As we always say, we love you from the bottom of our hearts. This is a joy and a privilege. And the Lady Jaclyn and I could not be more humbled and honored to be with you all. So thank you very, very much.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.